And welcome back to the Scenario 7 podcast. My name is Sam, and as always, I'm joined by my lovely co-host, it's Josh Baker and Joe Roberts. How you two doing?
I am doing better, thank you very much, Sam. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, Joe?
I'm doing good, doing good.
That's good to hear. It's nice to have you back, Josh, after a one podcast absence.
Yeah.
It's good to see you well enough to join us for the preview. And the preview this week is going to be Holland, aka Zandvoort. And this is a track that we are revisiting on the calendar for the first time since 1985. There was meant to be a race last season, but COVID cancelled it. But so first of all, guys, we haven't really in our lifetimes experienced a real life race there, but we've played it on F1 2020 and F1 2021. Guys, what do you think about the track?
I personally hate it. You can't really overtake, and obviously it's probably a bit different because it's actually real life rather than the game. But you can't really overtake. The only way you can overtake is if the driver in front makes a mistake or you have quicker tires. So I think there'll be a lot of strategy involved. I think if you get stuck behind a car, I think you can literally ruin your race. For me, I describe it as Monaco with more runoff. For me, I think they should have chosen a track or built a track that you can actually overtake rather than basically be scared electrics.
I get the point Joe's coming from there. It's there's not many places to overtake, but I think it will still be reasonably exciting because I think obviously first time for quite a lot of people going around it, and there'll be quite a few mistakes most likely, and people will try and overtake in places where they probably shouldn't. But I just hope that it's very unlike the actual game where you can actually touch a curb and not go flying off. So let's hope that makes it a bit better. But it should be interesting to see where people will try and overtake others because, like Joe said, it's not very wide. It's just similarly, like you said, it's just a Monaco with more runoff. But the runoff is mainly gravel, so it still will hurt the damage the car. So it's not really worth going off into the gravel. But yeah, it should be interesting. Just I think the main point will be, will they get used to the track in time? And then if not, it'll probably be quite chaotic.
It's definitely a quick, old school like track that is going to be, it's quite technical. It's going to be challenging for the drivers. It's the way it kind of flows through each corner and through the different elevations. It's almost like a roller coaster. It's like changing quickly, different like banking angles. I mean, they've had to modernize the track because the last time they raced there was 1985. So of course they've had to modernize it for the new F1 cars, and that's included increasing the banking angle at the famous Tarzan corner to 18 degrees, which is crazy steep, and it's almost like a Indianapolis Speedway like banking, and it's going to be very interesting, and excited to go to a track that we haven't been to for a long time. We're not going to do our fond memories this time due to the fact that we don't really have fond memories of this track. They haven't raced it since 1985, as I said, so we don't have any recollection of the track. But I'm just going to quickly summarize that last race. The last time they raced here, Nelson Piquet was driver who started on pole, but stalled at the start and had to get push started, so it was a lap down almost immediately. Niki Lauda was the driver who won the race. He took his 25th and final Grand Prix win in his McLaren, and then his teammate Alan Prost came second, with the legendary driver Ayrton Senna in third in the Lotus. 26 cars started the race, with only 10 cars getting classified, 16 DNFs, and only one car was involved in a crash, which shows you how unreliable the cars were back then. But yeah, that's a quick summary of the last time that we went to Zandvoort. now we're gonna some big news broke the week. We didn't expect it for a while, and that was the news that this was going to be Kimi Raikkonen's last season in Formula One. And we just wanted to bring a bit of reaction to it and just give our thoughts. So first of all, guys, what do you think about the Kimi news? Do you think he could have raced for a few more years, or do you think this is the year he is probably the best year to stop? And what are your favourite Kimi moments?
No, I think you said it just then. You knew it was coming. He's at that age where, and I think he's at that age where he's also at that point where he doesn't really care anymore. And I think he's just been stagnating at Alpha, just not really performing as best as he probably could do. He's probably not as committed, but yeah, I think it's come at the right point. They can now bring in someone new, and hopefully they can maybe train under him for a bit for the last few months, whilst he's still there. But yeah, I think it's the right moment for both the team and Kimi himself. But yeah, as you said, you definitely saw it coming. But he's been there quite a while, so even to stay that long, like Lewis, he's still around. But yeah, he's been quite a while. But it'd be sad to see him not on the grid. But definitely saw it coming at some point. And when it comes to a favourite moment, I think that's one thing comes to mind. It was just iconic in 2006 in Monaco, where his car failed him and he parked up at the hairpin, I believe, and then obviously just walked out and walked straight to his yacht and just didn't bother going back to his team, his garage, and just walked straight to his yacht with his mates, just grabbed a beer and just sat there and watched the rest of the race. But I'm sure you guys have possibly other better scenarios of him as well.
I think for me, as in Kimi, I think when I've grown up as watching Kimi Raikkonen, it's been obviously Ferrari 2007, 2008, where I absolutely hated Ferrari, so I hated him. So it was like when you're at that age, you wanted Lewis Hamilton to win. But yeah, he's been probably one of the most talented drivers on the field. He's just getting to the age where he's just a bit slow. Maybe Alonso will feel that in a couple of years' time. Obviously, he extended his contract with Alpine. But yeah, I think Kimi Raikkonen is arguably probably the most likable characters, and also to the fact that there's probably any teams being that, so Sauber, McLaren, and then Ferrari, then to Lotus, and then back to Ferrari, and then obviously to Alfa Romeo. It's been probably the most likable characters in the team if you talk to the team principals. But yeah, he could have probably won more titles if the McLaren when that was very quick, when Alonso and Schumacher won those titles, could have won more. But yeah, he's been a solid. I would describe him as a very Bottas in the last, I would say, 6 years. Very good second driver and obviously a leader at Alfa Romeo. But my favourite moment would probably be, I can't really, as obviously the one in Lotus, when he won with Lotus the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix before he went to Ferrari, because I think just due to the fact he wasn't getting paid by Lotus. So I think that would be, and obviously the famous quote, "I know what I'm doing." I think it just describes his kind of sense of humor and also his personality as well. So I think he'd be one of those characters that will be very missed on the grid next season.
Yeah, totally. It is such a shame to lose such an iconic driver like Kimi Raikkonen. But yeah, I think it was the time to move on. I think Alfa Romeo are going through a transition at this point. They've changed from only taking people from Sauber academies and people from that to being open to any team. And it feels like they're going through a bit of a transition, and it was right for Kimi to leave. I mean, when the season ends, he will be 42. It's pretty crazy. He's 42 in October, and he's still driving an F1, which is he's a credit to the sport. He's a credit to himself for driving so well at this age. I mean, admittedly, he doesn't really get the race results, but he still has moments where his overtaking, and maybe his qualifying pace is not like Giovinazzi's at the moment, but Raikkonen in race is still really good. And if his quali was still as good as it used to be, he'd still get solid points. But yeah, it's a shame to lose such a great talent, but I think it's the right time. In terms of my favorite moment, I'm going back to Drivers' Championship in 2007 for Ferrari. It was such a tight season that year, with the top three being separated by a point. You know, Kimi won with Hamilton in second, which drew amazing by Hamilton. It was his rookie season and he came second. And then Hamilton's teammate in the McLaren, Alonso, finished on the same points as Hamilton. And it was just a crazy season. But yeah, Kimi Raikkonen winning it. He deserved a championship. He could have won others, but I'm going to look back at the title he won because what a great driver. And that'll be the moment we look back on. Moving on from the Kimi Raikkonen talk, what do you expect to happen this weekend? What are your 5 predictions that you expect to see?
I think it's very hard to predict because it's not really a track we've been to. Josh probably put the red flags in his 5 top 10, and you probably put, I don't know, Bottas not finishing in the podium or something like that. But yeah, as in I'm gonna go for the Josh route, 2 red flags in practice. I don't think it'll be happening qualifying all the race, as the cars will get used to it. I think Lando Norris will qualify on pole and also finish in the podium as well. So that will free up my 3 of my points. Then I'm going to do George Russell will get into Q2. I think that's not very surprising. And then Max will win his home race.
Okay, interesting. Well, you're right. One of my first points is to do red flags, but it's slightly different to yours. It's just, I think there'll be just the one and the race. Obviously, there might be a few beforehand over the weekend, but I think it'll just be the one at the race, like probably towards the start. We're all just trying to funnel around that basically U-turn of the first corner, and then obviously that quick left and right into another pretty much U-turn as well. But so yeah, one red flag for the race. And then I also think kind of similar to Joe, I think Hamilton will get pole, but then I think Verstappen will win the race overall because he'll have basically his nation behind him, just like giving him just a rush of blood just to go and beat him. But yeah, I still think Hamilton will look quick and take pole and annoy Verstappen, which will then fuel him to go and win the race. I've also put Ferrari to struggle because originally in the week it did say it's going to rain, and it didn't look very good in the rain in Belgium. But then obviously Sam said before the podcast that it might not actually rain, but I'll still leave it there just in case. I don't think they'll have the strongest weekend, but I might be wrong with that because it did quite well in Monaco and it's quite similar. But we never know. But that's all I've got for predictions for this week.
Sure. Well, my first point is I think it'll be Red Bull domination. It's Max's home race, of course. So I think that Max will do really well. And I think that Sergio Perez needs a good race result. And I think he'll get one here. I think McLaren will do well. They got such a great driver lineup. I think that the 4th place in Spa for Ricciardo, even though there was no race, he qualified really well. Hopefully that will spur him on. I think both of them will do well. I've also got the Vettel and Alonso to have high finishes because it's such a technical track. So I think that it will suit the experienced drivers who are used to it, and maybe that some of the younger drivers will really struggle to adapt to it. I've got George Russell top 10. I think he might scrape into the points he's going to be full of energy and he's going to be so excited having got his first podium, even if he shouldn't really have got it, but he'll be really full of drive and determination. I think he'll get a top 10. And then my final one is quite quirky, but it's a red flag. That's not the quirky bit, but I think it'd be a red flag because of bad visibility due to flares. Now, there you go. That's a really weird take, but when it happens, you had to come back to the podcast and you'd be like, Sam said that. But yeah, I think they've talked about the issue of flares, and drivers have actually already come out and said, please do not do this because it will endanger visibility. So I think they might, in the end, have to stop the race due to a few too many flares going up and visibility. But yeah, we'll have to see. That's my hot take. Let's do predictions of the exact top 5, starting with 5th first.
All right. Well, similar, like you said, Sam, I think I agree with you with the point that I think Vettel will have a good race because of his experience. And I've actually got him to finish in P5. And then I've gone quite bold. Not really sure. Bold in 3rd and 4th places, but I think obviously the top 2 is expected. But I haven't got the second driver for either Mercedes or Red Bull to finish in the top 5. I've got Ricciardo to carry on his strong performance and finish 4th. And then I've got Norris to finish 3rd. And then obviously I said earlier that I've got Verstappen to win, which leaves Hamilton to finish 2nd.
I think mine's slightly similar, but I've put Bottas in the top 5 just because I think his driving style will suit the track compared to Perez, because you need to probably be slightly more aggressive, but Perez is a bit more smooth on the steering wheel. I am probably go top 5 will be Ricciardo in P5, Bottas in P4, Norris in P3 will get stuck. Bottas will get stuck behind him for the whole race, and then P2 will be Lewis Hamilton, and then Max Verstappen will regain the drivers' championship lead so it'd be P1.
No Perez there, Joe. Bit gutted about that, but we'll have to wait and see. Mine is reasonably similar. I've got Lando Norris in P5 for the McLaren. I think he'll do the best out of him and Ricciardo, though I don't think Ricciardo will be too far behind. I've got Valtteri Bottas in 4th, same as Joe. But in front of him, I've got Lewis Hamilton. I just don't think that the Mercedes will have the pace compared to Red Bull this weekend. In 2nd, I've got Checo Perez. And in 1st, in his home race, Max Verstappen, I think, will win. And he'll get quite a big boost in the driver's standings. But yeah, that's my top 5. I completely forgot when talking about Kimi to discuss who we think was going to replace him. So let's go back quickly to when we were talking about Kimi Raikkonen. And guys, let's bring up the point. Who do you want and who do you think will replace him at Alfa Romeo?
I think who do you want and who do you think is, I think it's completely different. I personally want Bottas. I think he needs to get out of Lewis Hamilton's shadow and prove that he is a very quick driver, and also he can lead the team to fit around him rather than Mercedes fitting around Lewis Hamilton. So I think Bottas, to be the first driver, and then I don't think Giovinazzi will continue his seat. I don't know if you want me to say who I think will
go for it.
I think Paul Chair. I know. I'll let you explain because you're in love with him. But yeah, I think Paul Chair will get the promotion. I don't know how he's doing in F2. I think he's doing reasonably well. So I think he'll get or it'll be more experience. I would say like Alex Albon. I think potentially him or Hulkenberg. So those are my 3 to get the second driver seat.
Yeah, so similarly, I think the person I want is Alex Albon, but the logistics of that happening would mean leaving the Red Bull program and moving to a different team. So I can see that being quite difficult to work out, but I still would like to see him back in F1. And if it's in terms of realistic people to replace him, I agree with Joe. I think Bottas needs to leave Mercedes to basically fall back in love with the sport. But if he does go, that probably means Russell moving to Mercedes. So would he go to Alfa Romeo or would he go to Williams? Which then, if he does go to Williams instead, that then leaves the chance for the reserve driver of Callum Ilott to then possibly get the seat. So there's a few ways, the directions that they can go in. Just depends on if they want someone with experience again, or someone with so obviously youth to try something new. But then also, like Joe said, they could get rid of both their drivers and then just get both of them in, which is one experience, one new, and that's a perfect lineup. But who knows what they're thinking? But I want Alex Albon to come back to the sport.
Yeah, I have got two suggestions. Realistically, I think the Valtteri Bottas will get the seat. I think he'll take Kimi's seat, and I agree with Josh that I think the perfect blend will be an experienced driver alongside a younger driver, and that's why I think that Bottas will take the seat from Kimi, but I don't think Joe Giovinazzi will stay in the sport. And I think that the replacement for Joe Giovinazzi, we wanted two drivers. Joe mentioned one of them, Theo Pourchaire, and as much as I want him in the sport, I think it might be a year too early for him. He's just 18 years old. He is in the Sauber Drivers Academy, so it does make sense from a logistics point of view, even though they don't just accept from there. He won in Monaco at just 17 in Formula 2, which is like an incredible feat. And he's sixth in the Drivers' Championship in Formula 2, which, bear in mind, his first season. I know Oscar Piastri is winning at the moment, and it's his first season, but he's just 18. He's such a young driver, and to be sixth at F2 is such an achievement. So I think it might be a year too early for him. But the other driver I'm going to mention is Callum Ilott. I also think that makes sense logistically. Despite being in the Ferrari Academy, the Ferrari and Sauber Academy are kind of linked. He came second in Formula 2, only to Schumacher last year. He's already a part of the team as a reserve driver, and he's shown his talent many times, and it just makes sense. He'll be used to the car, having tested it, and it makes sense from a logistics point of view. So from my point of view, it might be that Ilott takes the seat for next season, and if he does rubbish, replace him with Theo Pourchaire when he wins Formula 2 next season. But those are my suggestions. And
Sam, the one reason I would say it'd be a completely new lineup is because there's rumours that Ferrari are gonna put Giovinazzi in the Ferrari Super car thing they do, like Super Challenge thing they do, series they do in Italy. There's rumours they're going to put him in that. So it sounds like Giovinazzi won't be in the sport from what I've read online.
Well, there you go. Joe Roberts with the insight. That's why he's here. But yeah, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. This has been our preview on Zandvoort track and a bit of reaction to the Kimi Raikkonen news. Remember to like, subscribe, download, whatever you need to do, and we'll bring you a review on Monday of the race, which hopefully will happen this week. But yeah, thank you for watching and listening, and we'll see you next time.